Moscow School of Excellence, Egmore, and she spoke in Parliament, and she is with us. May I now invite Riann Maria to speak to us. Riann.
Most Reverend Dr. Salvador Lobo, Most Reverend Dr. Henry D'Souza, respected dignitaries, distinguished speakers, dynamic members of the ICPA, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to one and all. Let me begin by praising and thanking God Almighty for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I also wish to thank the ICPA office bearers, Reverend Father Anthony Pankras, and Reverend Father Tony Robert, Principal, Don Bosco School of Excellence, Egmore, for their kind invitation, encouragement, and support. 75 long years have passed since India got its independence. We are now celebrating with pride Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. But the big question is, are we really free? Do we have the freedom of speech? Or should I put it as, do we have freedom after speech, as once said by Fali Nariman? As we deliberate on today's theme, to me, journalists are the kettle drums of the world, awakening the inner voice that everyone has. If we listen to this inner voice and strive to do justice to ourselves and others, we become prophetic communicators. Now I would like to invite you to ponder with me on these three questions. What is the call of a journalist as a prophet? Why is that calling important? And how do we answer it? I believe Christian journalists have a dual responsibility, being both Christians and citizens. But these are not worlds apart. In fact, they aid each other, and the product is for the welfare of society. Being a Christian, you are called to be the voice of God, a mediator between God and the people. And that's being prophetic, isn't it? I envisage journalists to be speakers of truth. The people must know facts with clarity through them. When there is a problem in society, they are called to analyze and report the truth with integrity. They must take a call to solve the problem, and this indeed is no easy mission. It demands vision and wisdom, service and sacrifice, courage and decisiveness, and most importantly, emotional and spiritual intelligence to inspire hope and render selfless service for a higher cause. Hence, the answer to the first question is, for journalists to be prophetic, they must make sacrifices to serve and testify to the truth. Now coming to the second question. Why is it important that Christian journalists must be prophetic communicators? Let me quote one of my favorite authors, J.R.R. Tolkien. There is some good in this world, and it is worth fighting for. The best example is Jesus. He did not bring some method out of the blue. He only tapped into the inherent goodness buried within us to bring out empathy and compassion. His message of love and truth was not imposed. It was implied because he is the way. As Christians, society sees us as a quiet people. But being Christian journalists, sometimes you have to upset the money changers' tables. Now let's move on to the final question. How do we answer that calling? For a journalist to turn a prophet, he must address these issues on a priority basis. Working for the common good, sacrificing, and breaking barriers. During the Nazi rule, Pastor Niemöller wrote about the peculiar unquiet amongst those who found that the times were harsh, but never opened up. His notable poem, First They Came, describes the polarization of the time. He emphasized the fact that those who don't voice out are guilty as well. Those who don't voice out are guilty as well. Therefore, we must know what to speak, when to speak, and how to speak, But the important thing is to speak. For the benefit of society, a spade must be called a spade. Fact must be fact. We must voice out when there is wrong, but not condemn. Instead, we should strive for reformation and seek solutions. Now we might face failures and problems. Many a times we would face oppositions, but we must remember that if God has put us to it, He can bring us through it. Besides, Jesus Himself was condemned, tortured, and was crucified for bearing witness to the truth. We must also be able to sacrifice and keep in mind that we are contributing our might to the welfare of all. And this should be because of love. Love for God grounds us to the right path, and the passion for the work we do is our driving force. Our country is not yet free from the clutches of divisions. Barriers continue to exist. As Christian journalists, just as Jesus did, we need to break them. One way is to speak up for the truth fearlessly, and that is being a prophetic communicator. I would like to conclude by dedicating this small poem of mine to all journalists. May the good Lord give guidance to all journalists on their road, that they have the courage to trust He'd share their load. Let them bear witness to the truth, making rugged paths they trod smooth. Let their faith not dim, though the task be grim. Give them the strength to sacrifice and forever be our pride. Hats off to all you brave journalists here for risking tirelessly without favor and fear. Thank you once again.
That's excellent, Riann Maria, and I would take it as your dream. Young people are expected, invited to dream dreams, and Riann's dream for a journalist, that is what she shared with us today. And excellent way in which you have articulated to speak about the truth, to stand for the truth, and how one has to sacrifice. Journalism means sacrifice, and that is what she has highlighted.